Welcome to New Life Live with host and founder of New Life Ministries, Stephen Arterburn. New Life Live is dedicated to transforming lives one at a time, thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's Steve.
Hello, everybody. It's not Steve. It's Becky Brown, and I'm joined with Dr. Alice Benton and Dr. Sheri Keffer in the California office. How are you guys doing?
Good. It's the girl team today.
I know. Well, I thought about that. I thought, they used to say it was the boys. Well, listen, we're not just girls. We're women, and we are in charge. So we've got the keys to the car, and we're going to go for it today. I am so excited about the upcoming Finding Freedom workshop that we're going to be doing in March, and Chris Williams is one of the speakers as well as Steve. And, the topic, finding freedom, there's so many people that are, just stuck in so many different places in their lives. And, I'm just kind of curious, what do you guys think about what that means? What does finding freedom mean?
I think finding freedom means being at a place where you can actually rest, where you can find some peace. And when we're stuck and we keep doing these things over and over, it's impossible to be at peace, and it's impossible to be at rest. And what's weird is sometimes there is kind of this linchpin. There's something holding this world of fear together. There's something holding this obsessive way of being in the world. There's something that's holding you captive. And so taking the time to peel back the layers and to reflect on it and find it, so that you even know what to go get, is part of what happens at that weekend.
I was talking to somebody yesterday who was considering going, and she said, I'm just recognizing some patterns in my life that I don't want to be part of my life. I want to be different than this, and I can't quite figure out how to, like you said, loosen that linchpin. Like, what is it that's keeping me in this cycle? And sometimes I think it's just a life of reactivity. You've always done it this way, so that's just how you always do it. And some people even say, that's just how I am. That's just how I was made. But, here at New Life, it's not just the title, it's what we believe, that you can have a new life. The Lord gives us the ability to have that transformation, but we have to do some work about it. Alice, you got any thoughts about finding freedom?
Well, I get to run a couple of the groups that continue on after the weekend. And one of the things I love most is breaking out of the secrecy and the shame, because those are two of the most frequent barriers that keep us stuck. And the weekend creates community that you can stay connected with for years afterwards. And it's community that's safe enough to let down your guard and to reveal your struggles, your secrets, what you're embarrassed about. And there is incredible freedom in the process of doing that. And healing follows once we let down our guard in that way.
I love that. We are all looking for that freedom. And so when you get into those groups, whether it's at the workshop or what you're talking about, Alice, the Sustained Healing Program, you recognize that you're not alone in this quest. If you're interested in, joining us at the Finding Freedom Workshop, even if you're just like wondering about it, give us a call. You can call us at 800-NEW-LIFE, or if you want to join the program today, we will be here for a couple hours answering all the questions. You can call us 1-800-229-3000, and we can help you find freedom, whether it's, in a relationship struggle, or maybe it's something that you just can't figure out a way to make it different. And sometimes, like you said, Sheri, it's just one little thing. It doesn't have to be a big thing, but we want to help you. So join us, call us 1-800-229-3000, and we can help you. And we're going to take calls after the break. Who knows what kind of things we're going to find, right? I mean, we're always looking for something good. And I think that's what we all want. Don't you guys think that?
It is. And so what's going to be fun is we have no idea who we are going to be talking to, but we know one thing. We are looking for that linchpin to help set them free.
That's right. And you too can find it. So call us.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit it's addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have Christ-centered partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Hello, yes, we are back, and by we, I mean me, Becky Brown, and Dr. Sheri Keffer, and Dr. Alice Benton answering your calls, and we are going to start right away. We're going to talk to Christy. She is a Michigander. Sheri and I both come from the Great Lakes State, and
as I'm holding up my hand here.
That's it. I'm
right
exactly.
here. This is where
That's
I
right.
live, so you're in good company,
exactly.
Christy.
Right. And Christy, you listen on the app, which we love that so much. And any of our listeners can listen on the app. You can download it free at your app store and listen to the program. We've got tips and resources, and the Club New Life video library is found there. It's all good. But enough about that, Christy. How can we help you today?
Well, hi. Thank you for taking my call. And I just wanted to say my husband and I listen to your show a lot. We go back and listen to, older episodes, and we just really enjoy it.
Great.
We were listening Monday, and I just had a kind of a comment concern. I was talking to the lady who took my call earlier and trying to explain it a little bit. But my past, I'm remarried now to a wonderful Christian man, just in a really good marriage. But my first marriage was abusive. It was physically, emotionally, mentally, the whole thing. And so God really got me through that, and I had to work through that. But I guess my concern was, and I just know this for myself, what happened to me, because when this lady called, and I think, like I said, it was Mondays, and she was talking about herself and her friend who were in abusive situations. And I know they were saying, as far as going to the marriage conference, I think is it intensive or
Intimacy in Marriage, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was that one. Yeah. And and that's all good. But the only thing I was thinking as I was listening to that was for myself, because I was trying to get my husband to go to all these different, workshops, and, I think there was like a family life one and just different stuff, and nothing seemed to work because we weren't getting to that root of his, his anger and his abuse. And so finally someone recommended that I go to a place called Safe Haven, and it's in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And that was where I finally was able to realize, because I didn't even know, because my husband never hit me, like punched me. So I didn't really think, well, I'm in an abusive situation. Mm-hmm. But as I started going to Safe Haven and I started learning what abuse was, I realized I was in a really abusive situation, and so, but anyway, through going to that group, they, said, well, the only thing that's going to help your situation here is for your husband to admit that he is, abusive and seek out treatment for this. And then he needs to stop drinking, and then you two can come together and try to work on the marriage, because I know I had stuff as well that I needed to work on. But it was like we couldn't get anywhere until that. So I guess, too, I was just wondering if you guys do have resources for people that call in about that, like, for shelters, like if they need, because if there's, any type of physical abuse going on, like sometimes these people are in like a serious situation and they should probably get away from this person. Their kids shouldn't be around this person. So it might take like going to, a shelter or, so I didn't know if you guys, offer those resources to people that call in. that are in
So
that situation.
So what we do, Christy, is we will direct them back to their local area, because as a national ministry, we have people that are calling us from all over the country, and we do have a couple of direct lines to domestic violence help. But you're right; it's hard to recognize. We actually had a caller on yesterday's show who, her initial thing was that her husband just blows up and gets mad and he yells at her, and she wasn't identifying that as abusive. And so I love that you're that you're identifying that. And I'm hoping, Christy, that this new marriage is on a whole different level, that you have done the work. Great. That's awesome. And
you know what I love about your call, Christy? I got to be honest. I was on that call, and those two ladies have been on my heart ever since then. So it's kind of strange that you're actually calling today. And this is the deal. I don't know if you remember me recommending Leslie Vernick's book, The Emotionally Destructive Marriage, or I don't know if you remember me saying about them getting into a domestic violence support group. And I mean,
yes, I do remember that.
Thank you, because I am 100% in agreement with you. And actually, as marriage therapists, and I know Becky's therapist, all three of us are, this is the deal. Marriage therapy is actually contraindicated when there's domestic violence. I mean, we don't, we basically want to separate both people, so we are not colluding with the abuse. We want to stop it. And so you found that at Safe Haven, and we really have a clear message here at New Life. We're not colluding with abuse. We're wanting it to stop. And I love that you're an advocate. I love that you kind of because of your own story, you're passionate, and you cared enough to call us back and to let women or men know that are in abusive situations, don't settle. Don't stay stuck. Don't try to put lipstick on that pig. Get help. So that it doesn't keep going.
It just gets worse.
It does. It does. And so thank you.
Because when certain things wouldn't work, then they go to something else. And the thing was with couples therapy, because we tried that, we would go together and then we would leave, and my ex-husband would be angry because I told the therapist something that he didn't think I needed to tell it. So
I'm so sorry, Christy.
People go, well, you guys just need to go to therapy, and it's like, no, that doesn't help.
It
just can, in some ways, make it worse.
Thank you so much, Christy, for calling us back, and it's true. We don't, like you said, Sheri, we don't want people to stay in that dynamic and then offer some help. It's like throwing water on a forest fire. It just doesn't work that way. But I want to encourage anybody who's listening today that's wondering if they need help because of a situation like that. Please call us or call somebody local so that that you can get help. We don't want anybody to stay in, that kind of a dangerous situation, because even if they're not hitting you and the arguing is out of control, that's affecting you. That's hurting you. So thank you, Christy. We're going to go to Karen, who's a Club New Lifer. We love our Club New Life family, and she's calling us from San Francisco. She listens on the podcast. And Karen, we're so glad you called. How can we help you today?
Hi there. Thank you. A friend of mine talked to me about her niece, who comes from a divorced family, that she casually mentioned that she was molested by her dad. She is now 20 years old, and my friend just doesn't know what to do with the information, because her niece didn't want to make a big deal of it, but my girlfriend thinks that she needs to do something. She just doesn't know what to do, but she doesn't want to break her trust.
That is so sad. Sheri, Alice, what would you suggest?
Well, go ahead, Alice.
Well, part of this is we have to think about whether or not there are other people that are also in danger in addition to the niece, understanding that she's 20 years old, but so often when someone perpetrates against a child, against a minor, it's not a single case situation. And so considering making a report in order to have the situation evaluated, especially if this man has access to other children, it would be for the safety of other minors that may possibly be involved. I understand the risk of breaking the confidence, but sometimes we have to in order to keep other innocent people safe.
Yeah. It's really hard because you want to be helpful. So, Karen, you're saying that this isn't something that was told directly to you. It's a friend that is has been the one that the girl talked to, right?
Yes, it was her niece who casually mentioned it, and she was just in shock because.
So if it's her niece,
the
does she know the
situation.
dad? Is she is it her brother or brother-in-law? Yeah.
It's a former brother-in-law.
Oh, okay. Sheri, any insight? I have a few thoughts, but
Yeah. Well, this is the deal, is when it comes to sexual abuse, the 20-year-old is, I heard you say, she doesn't want to make a big deal out of it. And the reason as sexual abuse survivors, we don't want to make a big deal out of it is because there's so much shame around what happened. And we are so afraid of the possibilities of what might happen to us, of what might happen to the one who perpetrated us, of what might happen in our family if people ever really found out. And so it takes tremendous courage for her as a 20-year-old to even speak that. So one of the things I would recommend, and there's a great resource out there, it's called The Sexual Healing Journey by Wendy Maltz, and it's basically a bestseller. It's a guide for survivors of sexual abuse. And I would encourage your friend to get that book for her niece. Because a lot of times the denial, which is I don't want to go there, keeps us in the dark. But Wendy does a tremendous job of validating the sexual abuse that has happened. And it may be a way to help wake her up to really the magnitude of the harm that's happened to her. So that's one of the things I would do, is create a safe place for her to share, but provide her with a resource that is uniquely speaks to her pain.
right. It's interesting that she just now has said something to what has happened to her, and many times they don't want to tell because in their head they're still like that 5-year-old little girl, like that they don't have the power that they do now as a 20-year-old young woman. But you don't want to push anybody at the same time. But to your point, Alice, we've got other people that we need to make sure that are protected, that he doesn't have access to, because unfortunately he is a predator. I mean, if that's if it's happened once and it hasn't been addressed, it's something that needs to be done. We don't carry that book, Karen, but I think that's a great suggestion that you made, Sheri. So many times when someone finally makes the move, the brave move to come out into the light, it's really scary, and they want, they just, okay, I'm just going to tell you, and I'm not going to tell anybody else. And so we want to empower them to kind of go at their pace, at the same time kind of leading them into, it's okay, you can keep talking, and there are people that love you and care about you. And so I hope that was helpful, Karen, and just appreciate you being that friend. Before we go to the break, we're going to talk to Jim, who's calling us from Rowlett, Texas. Jim, how are you? You listen on the internet. We're so glad you do. What can we do for you today?
Well, we need to tickle the ears of Steve Arterburn.
Oh,
Steve
okay.
Arterburn was a student of mine back in Bryan, Texas, years ago.
Oh, that's
he was
awesome.
in my choir, and he was my student choral director.
Wow.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, the kid's very talented.
That's
I don't know
awesome.
when he's going to put it off to work here, but
One of these days, Jim.
yeah, he was in my first show that we did in the Bryan Civic Auditorium. We did Sound of Music. He was one of the children. That's where I learned to appreciate Steve Arterburn and his fine family. We were all members of the same church, and I knew them very well. Steve was one of the youngsters that I chose when I left teaching, I went into cable casting, and I was producing live television programs on Cablevision, which is kind of interesting because at one time nobody was thinking about putting a channel on with local features, but we did.
And you were out ahead of the pack, weren't you, Jim?
Yeah, I was ahead of the crowd. As a matter of fact, we did probably one of the first football training camp videos when the Oilers were in Shiner, and I had the privilege of going over and videotaping for a week. But what I wanted to say about Steve.
Do it quick, because we're going to go to a break. Jim, you hear the music.
Well, and if Steve was here, this is what Steve would say. Keep going. Keep going. No.
Exactly.
He would be thrilled to be here. But, you want to come back?
Not.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on back, Jim. We'll be right back.
I feel blessed to have had this opportunity for my needs to be met, connecting with other women who are fighting the same fight, hoping for healthy marriages and growing closer to the Lord on their journey.
My name is Sheri Martinkus, and I want to personally invite you to the Restore Workshop. If you have been affected by betrayal, it might be that your husband has been looking at pornography, it might be an emotional, physical affair. I would love for you to come join us.
Encouraged and hopeful that even in my struggle, I am enough.
You will leave with hope, with a community of sisters ready to support you, and you will also leave with tools to move you forward on this journey.
Through the sharing in our small group, I realize that I am not alone.
Please don't hesitate. Pick up the phone, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. I would love to see you there.
The Restore Workshop is coming to Southern California February 28th to March the 1st. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE to find out more. That's 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for 30 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
Your ministry has saved my life.
If you struggle with emotional hurt, family or marriage problems, the pit of depression, or the pain of addictions, we can help.
I'm down 100 pounds now from what I was.
You guys are awesome. You're a blessing to America.
Our treatment programs provide clinically appropriate solutions from licensed professionals, all in a biblical framework.
I have had problems with alcohol. I think God has ordained this place to be His.
You don't have to be a prisoner of your pain. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
She tells me that I'm a new man, and I feel like a new man.
It worked for me, and it can work for them too.
This time it is different.
If you're ready to take the first step toward genuine spiritual and emotional healing, please call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. God can open the door to a better tomorrow right now. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433.
To hear from you, if you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. I do want to encourage you to give us a call at 1-800-229-3000. We're taking calls for the next couple hours. And I also want to encourage you, if you are making your vacation plans for this year, New Life is taking a Rhine River cruise this fall. And it's more than just a chance to visit some amazing places, but you can, we'll have lessons from Mylan and Steve, just encouragement. And it's always fun to travel with New Lifers. And so give us a call at 800-NEW-LIFE for information, or you can go to newlife.com. And Jim's still on the line. Alice, you wanted to talk to Jim?
It sure is fun to hear a blast from Steve's past. And we understand you have a challenge for our audience. Go ahead with that.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. For people who are perhaps, as I am, on limited income, Amazon has a Smile program. All the people have to do is, if they purchase anything at Amazon, if they sign up for the program, they can designate their favorite charity, and New Life is one of them. And I've been doing that for 2 years, Amazonian, so I enjoy doing it. And I encourage people to do that. Of course, it's very easy to make a donation anyway.
Right. Yes, Jim, thank you. Thank you. We'll take that. We'll take that advice. We thank you so much for calling, and we'll pass your message on to Steve, too.
And I'm going to send a Restoration Bible to Jim because that's one of Steve's most favorite Bibles right now, and it's really an encouragement all the way around. It is true. We do need your help. And I know Larry usually comes into the office and he'll, give the pitch. But I want to encourage you, if you've never given to New Life before, make today the day that you either join Club New Life, and right now our gift to you is 4 devotionals. They're 100 days each, so that kind of covers a whole year, and they're all written by Steve. Or if you want to give a gift of any amount, we will send you the Life Recovery book on grief. And, we just have so many resources that we help so many people with, but we need your help so that we can continue to do the work that we're doing. Let's go ahead and talk to Melissa, who's calling us from Dallas from the great station KWRD. Hello, Melissa. How can we help you today?
Hi. I'm calling in because I actually called in back in March, and at the time that I called in the first time, I was beginning to remember some sexual abuse in my childhood, and I wasn't sure where to start. So since then, I've been seeing a counselor, and I've been trying to do my work, but I'm calling today because I just feel like I'm stuck. And I feel like I'm very confused, and that I'm stuck in denial and repression, and I just don't know how to move forward from here.
We're so glad you called, Melissa. And, it's tough work, just like what we said about our earlier call. You're being very brave, and it makes sense that, there might be some challenges along the way to your road of freedom. Sheri or Alice, what would you encourage Melissa with today?
So you said you were stuck in denial and repression. Can you tell us what that looks like?
So I guess for me, I have a hard time remembering anything. I mean, there's very little of my childhood that I remember anyway, just in general. But I have a hard time now, I guess, just putting the pieces together.
Yeah.
Because as I've been trying to work through what happened, I think I keep going back to, well, did it really happen? If I don't remember, if I remember so little from my childhood, how can I work through this if I don't have a clear picture of what happened?
So let me tell you what I'm hearing. And it's a very, very natural, and I'm going to say God-given thing that happens to those of us who've experienced really painful things like sexual abuse and other abuses. So, God in his wisdom gave us a holding tank for this kind of pain. And it's a holding tank that holds these very hurtful emotional experiences. And so what happens in this holding tank is denial's a part of it, but really it's dissociation. So dissociation is like the memories kind of go into the dark. We can't see them, and the reason we can't see them is because if we did at that point in our lives when that bad thing was happening, it would have overtaken us. It would have kind of wiped us out. So we couldn't even get up and go to school. We couldn't even function. We couldn't even sit at the dinner table. So as the brain begins to leak out, right, give these little windows into the soul, and you're able to meet those with some openness and curiosity, there's healing that can happen. But it's kind of like the brain knows that it needs to do it in short snippets so that it doesn't overwhelm us. But that doesn't mean the event didn't happen. Just because you don't remember all the pieces and can't see the whole reel, it doesn't mean that it didn't happen. Sometimes when I'm doing EMDR and trauma work with abuse survivors, we'll get just enough information to process that event and the negative belief in order to move you into truth. So I don't want you to lose heart. I don't even want you to feel like you're stuck.
Right.
I want to tell you, hey, it's a normal part of healing to have that window open up and to have your brain offer you more and more information. around
It's so true. It's so true, Sheri. We'll come back after the break, Melissa, and we'll talk to you a little bit more about that. And I think so many times we want to do it right, to make sure we're doing it right, and that can get us stuck as well. But I love that you say don't even identify with that. Hey, if you have any questions, give us a call, 1-800-229-3000.
My wife had found me out through my past and my sexual addiction since I was a small child. It really gave me the opportunity to start digging into my past, start digging into my childhood, figure out what was causing me to feel the way I was feeling. Every Man's Battle will really give you that opportunity because all the guys there in that room are there for the exact same reason you're there. I don't want to be the reason that my kids are going to counseling. I don't want to be the reason that they begin to struggle with the same issues that I'm struggling with, and I've got to put an end to this. Yes, you can be different. God does love you. You can be forgiven for this, and there's a way out of this. But you have to acknowledge that you have to change. Yeah, that there's a problem.
If you're struggling, call us. There are people on the other end of the line who want to hear from you, who want to help you. We don't want you to hand down something to another generation that just looks like pain and destruction. You can hand down redemption, but you got to take that first step. Just give us a call. It's 1-800-639-5433. It's 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for 30 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
I'm an addict, and I'm trying to get God in my life again. You seem to be able to get to the crux of a problem quickly.
Our Christ-centered treatment programs can help you break free to embrace all that God has for you and your family.
I just want to thank you guys for bringing me to a relationship with Jesus.
There really is help for marital problems, depression, addictions, panic attacks, and feelings of hopelessness.
I came back with so many tools to help me prepare myself to fight this struggle and this battle that I have every day.
You can start living again today, living the life God intended for you. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
They did care, and they did follow up very lovingly, and it made all the difference in my life.
Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Someone who cares is waiting at the other end of the phone. God can open the door to a better tomorrow right now. Just call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. 1-800-639-5433.
We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Yes, we are back. And if you want to join us, you can call us at 800-229-3000. And we're talking to Melissa, and she's been doing some work in healing past sexual abuse that she's experienced. And we were talking at the break, Melissa, about, sometimes when we're doing this important work, we feel like we have to get it all right, and we have to know all the things in order for it to go the best way, and we can get stuck in that. And it's kind of like all these puzzle pieces we're trying to put together in the right way. But here's the truth of the matter. Not everybody remembers everything. Like if this wasn't part of your story, you wouldn't have every memory from day one of your life. And so I don't know if that's helpful as you just kind of do the next thing. I remember actually hearing, I want to give it credit to Henry Cloud, but it could have been somebody else. But I remember him saying something about when you're in the work, sometimes you don't need to go digging as much as just let things rise. And I think sometimes we can get stuck in the digging and forget what's right in front of us. I don't know, Alice, Sheri, do you have anything else that you'd like to share with Melissa?
Well, in part of that, letting things rise, especially if we give the reins over to God and ask the Holy Spirit to be our guide in what do I talk about today? He tends to reveal what we need to know at the time, and it's usually bite-sized pieces, but he does give it to us. So, Melissa, asking that prayer be a part of therapy if it's not already, or you just praying for that on your own, it does change things. And sometimes God is nudging us to tell our therapist we feel stuck and to strategize with a therapist. Is there anything we can do differently in our therapy here? That's a growth conversation because it can be very intimidating talking to even your own therapist in that way. And considering adding a group or trying a weekend, trying a New Life weekend. Sometimes we need a different ingredient to move then to the next level.
Yeah, that's so true. Melissa, is that helpful?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, is it too much?
I'm just I'm frustrated at the pace, I suppose.
I
of
know,
how
and
everything's been unfolding.
You know what, sweetheart? I can
it's
hear it.
affecting Yeah.
You're being hard on yourself. You really are. If I was there and I could just sit with you, I'd say, you are 100% in the work. You're doing everything you can do. And, it may be that you see if you could add to your therapy by meeting somebody who's a consultant or certified in EMDR. It stands for eye movement desensitization reprocessing. It's a tool that helps to, like, Becky was saying, it helps to let things rise. And that might be a way that you can add something to what you're already doing. But please, 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 my dear, try not to be hard on yourself. Be kind to yourself as you're going through this process. You're not lazy. You're not lax. You're not failing. It's just this unveiling that does happen, and it happens gently, and it happens over time.
And Melissa, I'm also thinking about something that we encourage people to do is sometimes you have to take a breather. The work is intense, and you may need to take a step back with safe people, not walk away from it, but just get your breath. Because when you're doing some intense work like this, it can be exhausting. And I think I heard you say it's starting to affect work. Is that what you were going to say?
No, part of the reason I began working on it is because it's affecting my marriage and my future too.
Yeah.
It's just frustrating in that way because I feel like I can't move on with what I hope to do with my life because of the effects of the trauma.
Well, and you know what you might do? So I've got folks that, like you, have sexual abuse, and guess what? Their husbands are a part of the work. Yeah. Again, I'm going to give a shout out to Wendy's book, The Sexual Healing Journey, and I actually have the person who's been abused and the spouse read that together. Mm-hmm. Because it's important that they understand the slow pace, and maybe that's where your expectations are coming from, is you're feeling bad that he is suffering in some way because of the sexual abuse. But he needs to also learn how to pace with you in order to create a safe place for you to heal.
He's been very patient. I suppose it's more my own feeling bad that he's being affected by it.
Yeah.
It's sad, Melissa. I don't want you to think that this isn't worth grieving. We are grieving with you, and it is a loss, but I know that in the work that you're doing, in the difficulty, that there is newness that's coming. And it's so great that you have someone who is sharing that and is patient. And, it's beautiful. It's the hardest work that you're going to do, but it's so worth it. And just like what Sheri said about EMDR, eye movement desensitization reprocessing, I tell you, I've seen so many clients that has radically changed their life. I'm not a practitioner of it, but I just think it's amazing. And I heard a psychiatrist say one time, we don't really know how it works. We just are sure that it does. And it's just amazing. So Melissa, that may be something that would be the next step for you, and talk to your therapist about that. I want to send her Healing as a Choice. I wish we had that other book, Sheri. We might need to check that out. But we're going to talk to Michelle, who's calling in from Seattle. She listens on the internet, and you can too at newlife.com, or if you download our app. Michelle, thanks so much for joining us. How can we help you today?
Yeah, I just wanted to give some encouragement to Melissa, too. She is doing hard work, and she's probably changing generational cycles. And, girl, it is hard, but I am so proud of the work she's doing, and I'm right there with her. Like, I had spent a couple of years in talk therapy with a counselor and didn't get very far, and then I switched to a counselor who practiced EMDR, and I kind of light speed accelerated my healing.
See? That's what I said. I wasn't lying.
And like her, I had, huge blank spots in my childhood, so few childhood memories. And I grew up with a borderline mom, and, I was just an adult, and I didn't really have any kid memories. And it wasn't until I started doing EMDR that pieces started filling back in. And not all of them were great. I mean, not all of them were great.
Yeah,
but it's worth it, and I'm just so proud of her for doing that hard work. But
way to go, Michelle, for shouting out there. That's great.
Yeah. Well, so I'm a little bit further ahead in the work, I guess, in that, I'm determining, the things that how to ask for the things I need and the things I want and the things that I never really did when I was growing up. And I learned to really emotionally overprocess when I was a kid, right? So I did that in my marriage too. I've been married for 20 years to a super great guy who has Asperger's. And so I have been the emotional processor for our marriage for the entire time. And same thing, we have kiddos on the spectrum, and I do the same thing for them too. And so, it's really starting to set some boundaries around, giving my kids better tools, and then also pulling back and being like, hey, husband, I really love you, but I can't process everything for you anymore. Like, you need to step up and do some of this too. So the super hard part is that it doesn't seem like he's able to keep up with that change, or doesn't have the tools to deal with that change, and or maybe doesn't have the margin to deal with that change. He's a super, super great guy. I'm not willing to blow up anything about this. He's a fantastic provider. He's a great dad. There's no porn. There's no abuse. There's no blah, 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 right? He's an amazing guy. And so I guess I'm just kind of at this point now. I've laid my needs and wants and requests out there. He hasn't been able to meet them. Do I tuck them back in a box, or do I just try to not be dissatisfied with that situation? I've prayed, God, please either take this desire away from me, or please give him a desire to meet these needs. But I'm just kind of stuck now, where I know I can't believe God brings me through this healing to then kind of leave me in this unsatisfied place. So I guess I'm just not really sure what to do.
That's a great question, though, Michelle. It sounds like you've done a lot of work, but marriage is hard anyway. So, throw all of that into it, and, you want to do the best you can. Alice, Sheri, do you have anything before we go to the break to offer just to get started?
Michelle, has your husband been willing to participate in therapy with you?
No, and I would say it's probably because he doesn't have the margin after work. It's a super common thing for him to just kind of check out and not really have the margin to deal with that.
So what I want to try to help you do is evaluate how you have been asking, and if there's anything to change in the way you've been asking or what you've been asking for, or putting the importance on some of these requests that he can fulfill, and kind of deciphering what you can ask of him, what you can't ask of him. So we're coming to the break, but we want to come back to help you strategize and plan out, because it's a legitimate question. What can I ask of my husband, and what can I expect of him?
My wife asked me for the first time in 2011 if I would consider myself a sex addict, so I signed up. I'd read the Every Man's Battle book, and it was a great book, but the workshop, it was the experience that really was key for me. If they go to EMD, they're going to be in good hands. This is a safe place. They're going to be surrounded by men that simply walk the talk. The weekend leaders that they will go through this workshop with, they'll help them to get to the root of their issues. I've been through a number of well-preached sermons, listened to and read countless books, been to a number of seminars, but EMB for me was a game changer. It truly saved my life. Being in this community, being in this workshop, being around these men will change them if they'll let them. You're going to encounter men that will meet you where you're at, and then you will instantly walk into a safe place where they're welcome.
If you're struggling, call us. We don't want you to go on struggling. Just give us a call. It's 1-800-639-5433. It's 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
I was really living a very anxiety-filled life. I turned on New Life, and the topic that day was about anxiety. And just by listening, I got relief.
You can help New Life Live stay in the air by joining Club New Life today. When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, we'll send you a set of 4 devotionals, 100 Days of Character, Peace, Prayer, and the newly released 100 Days of Healing. Plus, there are ongoing benefits like access to the Club New Life video library, the monthly Club New Life CD or download, quarterly resources, free shipping on purchased resources, and discounts on workshops.
I did go to Take Your Life Back. That's been immensely helpful to me. That's why I continue to support the ministry with the hope that not only am I helping my own situation, that I'm helping others as well.
Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We are taking calls for another hour, so we want you to call us at 1-800-229-3000. That's 1-800-229-3000. Some of you who are listening right now are thinking, I don't have anything to ask. No, not really. You're listening because you do. You want to learn something. So give us a call and we can help you. We can get you started in a new direction or maybe get you moving in a right direction. Right now we're talking to Michelle, and Alice, you had left us with some good questions. Michelle, do you have a chance to think about those?
I did, yeah. So, it's probably been going on for like a year or two where I've been sort of trying different approaches. So one thing that we had kind of a serious conversation a couple of months ago about, I sort of feel like I'm too much, like I'm throwing too much at you. I'm very sorry. I understand I'm the one who's changing after 20 years, but, this is kind of what I need to be healthier. I feel like I'm too much for you. And he'll say the right things, like, of course you're not, but then when it actually comes to it, it's sort of hard for him to put anything into action. I tried connecting to some resources, some podcasts that I thought, maybe this will be great. Or sometimes I'll send him a link, like, just here's an article I thought was kind of interesting. Or even just trying to give him a little insight about my therapy work and, here's why I think that triggers me, or why I feel like you're rejecting me, even though I know you're not, but just this is kind of what I think this connects to this kind of stuff. And
okay. All right. Well, Sheri had some thoughts.
Yeah.
Michelle, Sheri had some thoughts on this.
So you know what, Michelle? It makes 1,000% sense to me as to why you married your husband. You know why?
Oh, it does. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because
you marry your unfinished work.
No.
And I needed some predictability.
Well, but hear me out. Hear me out. When you met him, he was a stabilizing force. He was a rock. He was calm. Yeah. Having come from a borderline mom, where there was just so much spinning, so much chaos, so much unpredictability, you just couldn't help but fall for him because you had come from such chaos. But what you didn't know then, right, is that he had Asperger's, which I'm telling you, it's a very different brain. A very different brain. It's a very busy brain on the inside. And because it's so busy, it's like it works so much longer and faster and harder, and it just doesn't rest. Then your brain, I get why he comes home and he doesn't feel like he has the capacity. So let me say this to you.
Yeah.
Part of what I think is a reality, when you were talking, I saw a picture of the tortoise and the hare, right? He's a turtle.
Right.
He's a turtle, and you're the rabbit. And you want him to be different. And I think if the rabbit and the turtle were in a relationship, at some point the rabbit is going to have to grieve what she doesn't have, because you're waking up, you want another rabbit. You want him to have a rabbit brain, really. You want him, but you want him to be a turtle with a rabbit brain, and he's not that. So I've worked with men like your husband who have Asperger's, and they have a hard time, even in a session, maintaining conversations, looking at me with their eyes, because they get flooded. And so I think I want to encourage you to think about, and I don't mean this to have you lose hope, but I would I would ratchet down your expectations with some grief. I would help to move you into what is real. And then I would invite you to be creative and do what Alice says. Figure out what is the best time for him to enter into this with you. It might be on a Saturday morning. It might be coming to a weekend, like intimacy intensive, where he's not going to feel shame, because the more he feels like you want him to be a rabbit, he's going to start feeling like he's not enough. He's going to start feeling like you just see holes in him, and it's going to hurt him, instead of you beginning to go, wow, he has a completely different brain than I have, and I married him because he's calm. But you're dying for comfort. You've got kids on the spectrum. You want comfort from him, and that is a necessity, right? But he may not.
Definitely.
Yeah, he may not be the biggest comforter in your life. It may be someone who has more of a rabbit brain, right? More of a connected.
We kind of joke like I maintain my relationship with my therapist, that I sort of have like standing appointments.
Yeah.
So I can get someone who gives me the pats on the back and you're doing a great job, and the reminders and encouragement. You know, you're breaking generation. Your kids are not going to have the same struggles that your generation has, that you and your husband have. Like, you're giving your kids better tools than your sweet husband ever got. And I get that. I really do get that. I think it's just kind of disappointing in it, you know. And
I know.
Even when I just
so Michelle, I would say to you right now, like Sheri said, you're in a time of grieving, but don't lose hope. Like, you're just in a new space right now. And I definitely agree that the Intimacy and Marriage Workshop would be a great place for you guys to go and set apart some time where you work together. I've had couples there before that the husband had Asperger's, and just learning how to connect with one another was radical for them, because what we get stuck in is, I need you to be different than who you are, even though I married you. But you're different than who you were, Michelle. You've done your growth. And so we want to, give a space and a time for that continued growth. And you're doing good work, and we're excited for what God's going to continue to do, but don't give up hope. And
How We
just
Love,
kind of work through that.
How We Love would be a great book to send you guys, because it would give you some words together. Read it together.
And Michelle,
because he'll need some. Go ahead, Alice.
I want you to consider your self-care too. I wonder how much you spend taking care of everybody in the family and taking care of everybody's emotional needs, and it is too much for one person. And knowing that you can step away and replenish yourself, and that's not selfish, it's actually in the best interest of your family in the long run. Please give yourself permission to be able to do that.
And I hear the tears, Michelle. You're doing you're doing good work.
Oh,
and
my gosh. Whenever I get close to the stuff that I deal with, core beliefs, and it's so teary all the time. So
that's okay.
Hey, Becky, can we send her the grief workbook, the new grief book?
Yes,
because
absolutely.
I think How We Love and the grief workbook is going to be like, two swords in your hands to continue to give you hope and to help you process.
Well, and Michelle, I want to encourage you, just like I encourage everybody that listens, get into group work. We have life recovery groups all over the country, and it's amazing, to go to group and to be surrounded by that support. I know, Sheri, you've talked about that, and Alice, you were talking earlier today about the group. And it's such a strange thing. We talk about it, but it's a whole different thing to kind of get into it and do that work. I want to encourage people, if you have never come to one of our workshops, make 2020 the year that you get new vision for a new life. See that? See how I did that? But we've got Every Man's Battle coming up in February 7th in San Jose. We have the Intimacy and Marriage Workshop that we just talked about. That features Mylan and Kay Yurkovich as well as Steve, and they do the main sessions. And then we have breakout groups with a new life counselor And I'm telling you, that is life-changing. I know, Sheri, you're going to be at that one. And then we have Restore, Hope for a Woman's Heart, which is in February 28th, and that's for women who have experienced betrayal in their relationships. And then Finding Freedom, our new one, coming in March 15th with Chris Williams and Steve. And of course, we want to help you with anything that you may need help with. Give us a call at 800-NEW-LIFE or look at newlife.com and find your resource there. Thank you, Sheri. Thank you, Alice. And if you're online, hold on. And we are answering calls for the next hour.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Hi, Steve Arterburn here. Thanks for watching New Life Live on our New Life YouTube channel. You know, you can see it anytime. Hope you'll subscribe, and when you do, hope you'll turn that little button thing on, the bell, so that whenever we post a new video, it'll ring right through. Now, if you go to newlife.com, you'll see the schedule of when we're in the studio, which is helpful to know if you have a question for the program, or you could go to newlife.com or call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. You could do this on the app. I mean, there's so many ways that you can stay in touch with us and know when we're there, because we want to answer your questions. So thanks for watching right here on the New Life YouTube channel, and we'll see you next time. Click here to subscribe.